Hello guys, welcome to the channel. It's TPM5 with another NBA video. In this one, I'm going to be discussing a rumor involving the Los Angeles Lakers and Gary Harris. So, without further ado, let's get started. Now, as you guys know, the Lakers have really struggled this year. They're sitting ninth in the Western Conference with a 27-31 record, and they have not been able to find any consistency whatsoever this year, despite opening the season with a rather easy schedule. Now, the Lakers are 24th in the league in terms of offensive rating, and an area which they've really made their mark on the NBA these last few years has been the defensive rating. However, they're currently 15th out of 30 teams, so bang in the middle. Now, I mentioned before with the Lakers' schedule. Now, the Lakers have played 31 games at home up to this point, and they've only gone 18 and 13 in those games, and away from home they've only played 27. So out of their next 24 games, 14 of them will be on the road. So things don't get any easier for the Lakers as they look to try and build on some momentum without Anthony Davis. Now, the rumor for this video will be Gary Harris. So as you guys know, Gary Harris came and burst onto the scene with the Denver Nuggets when he was averaging around 17.5 points on 48% from the field, 39% from three, and 82% from the free throw line. Now, ever since then, he hasn't quite been the same player since that breakout year, and most notably, he had a hip injury which really took away his dribble drive game, really forcing him to stick to being a three-point shooter. And obviously, when you're out, you're not going to be that consistent, and that was his issue there. But he's still a very handy player in this current NBA because he can be a 3-and-D guy, and a lot has been spoken about the Lakers really missing Alex Caruso and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. And one thing in common with those guys is that they're both perimeter defenders and can shoot the three ball at a decent level as well. Now, before I continue with this video, I make NBA content 2 times a week, so I'd heavily appreciate it if you guys subscribed and stuck around. Now, if you have any fans, Lakers fans, comment who you guys think the Lakers should go after. Bembry was an option, but he's gone. Tristan Thompson was another option, but he's also gone as well. So it's really looking like Dragic, Harris, and possibly someone that I do not see at this point. Now, Gary Harris last year had a defensive rating of 111.6, which you might say isn't that good, especially considering that the Lakers' current defensive rating is lower. However, that Magic team last year was pretty bad, as you guys know, and when he was on the floor per 100 possessions, they had a defensive rating of 3.8 better with him on the floor, so 111.6 with him and 115.4 without him. So obviously, those numbers are skewed by the team he's on, but he's still a very elite defender. He obviously can give you a lot of defense on a high level on the perimeter, and can also, guard the 1 through to the 3 as well. Now, the Lakers have really been missing some three-point shooting over the whole season, and also have lacked a lot of defense. As keeping in mind the defensive side of things, they were definitely a lot lower than 15th out of 30 teams, I can tell you that much. Now, Gary Harris is in the final year of his deal, making $20.4 million. Now, Markelle Fultz is expected to come back at some point after the All-Star break, so it could make sense for the Magic to waive or buy out Gary Harris, who's in the final year of his deal, which won't have too many financial implications for the future, in order to free up some time for some young players, and also get Gary Harris onto a better, arguably better circumstance where he can win a title with the Lakers. Now, the Lakers have tried out a few guys this season. They brought in Darren Collison out of retirement. Nothing really happened there, and guys like Kent Bazemore and Wayne Ellington haven't really been as good as they've been really required to make this whole minimum player bench thing work. Now, I think this deal for the Lakers could be good because, as I mentioned before, they really are missing Kentavious Caldwell-Pope in his 3-and-D efforts. I'm not trying to say Gary Harris is better or anything, but he can really fill up maybe 75 to 80% of that role that Kenny was doing. And over the course of Gary Harris's career, his numbers are eerily similar, averaging 11.9 points per game and shooting 36% from 3. Obviously, really making his name as a three-point shooter. Now, he's also been to 2 playoffs campaigns with the Denver Nuggets, averaging 10.8 points and 3 boards on 36% shooting from 3 in 32 minutes per game. So he is someone who can play at a high level and has shown that he can be a pretty helpful player in the playoffs. Obviously, on the Lakers, his minutes probably won't be as big as they were back in Denver, probably looking at around 20 a night. But I think with Anthony Davis out for at least a month, the Lakers, if this option presents itself, I think the Lakers are going to have to really try anything they can to try and get this roster and this team back on track. Now, just to put a damper on all of that, as of now, according to Mark Stein, it doesn't look likely that Gary Harris will be bought out by the Orlando Magic. Obviously, the Lakers have expressed a lot of interest, but Gary Harris hasn't really pushed for a buyout. However, we know these things can change and the NBA is a business, and we've seen things in the past, where players don't want to get moved and they get moved, and players, want out of circumstances and they end up getting out. I'd say this still isn't overly likely, and I'm just saying that more or less not to get your hopes up and stuff. But if the Lakers were to get Gary Harris, he could be a big difference maker given their circumstances and, restrictions. Now that is the end of the video, guys. So please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also comment, and I'll see you next time. Peace out. Thank you for watching.